To create gradient progress lines and circle markers with conditional coloring, we'll use a dual axis for the structure, we'll color by measure names to get the gradients, and use a calculated field for conditional coloring logic. To build the structure of this, I'm going to move the measure values into the columns, and I'll move our metric, which is the progress percent, into the columns as well. For rows, I'm going to pull in our initiative field. And under the measure values, I'll type 0 and I'll type 1. And then I'll remove all the fields that aren't the 0 and the 1. So you can see here 0 and 1 will be the start and end. That way we have lines of equal length, and we can show the progress of each initiative with circles that fall along that line. And I'm not a big fan of these sharp edges, so I'm just going to go to the measure value mark and make it a line. Then I'll pull our measure name field in and make that determine the path of the line. Then using the size slider and the marks, I'll increase the size. So you can see we get these rounded edges. So while the chart on the left will show us the full length lines representing 100% or the total lines, the chart on the right will display the progress percentage for each initiative. And I want these to be circles, so I'm going to go to the second mark and make it a circle. Then to align these on the same axis, I'll right-click on our progress percent and make it a dual axis. For formatting, I'll remove both headers. Then I'll format the worksheet, and under borders, I'll remove the row divider and the column divider. Under lines, I'll remove the 0 lines for the sheet and the grid lines for the columns. So to implement the conditional formatting logic, I'll create a calculated field. For this field, I'll say if holding fixed the initiative, the sum of the progress is greater than 0.7 or 70%, then assign it the value green. Else if holding fixed the initiative, the sum of the progress is less than 0.3 or 30%, then assign it the value red. And if it doesn't match either of these conditions, assign it the value yellow. To implement the conditional coloring, I'll go to the All Marks and drag our calculated field in. I also want to create a gradients with our conditional coloring, so I'm also going to drag measure names into our All Marks. Then I'll change both of these to be a color. Using the legend, I can edit the colors. Since 0 will represent the left side of our line, I'm going to choose a light color. 1 will represent our right side of our line, so I'm going to choose a darker color. And the progress percent will be the circle, so I'm going to choose an even darker color. That way we get this gradients from light green to darker green, with the circle being the darkest green. I'll do the same thing for our reds and our yellows. And now we have gradient lines with conditional coloring that make it easy to see progress at a glance. And right now you can see if I hover over the circle or the line, there's a lot of information in the tooltip that we don't need. So I'll go to our line mark, and in the tooltip, I'm going to remove everything. Within the circle mark, I'll go to the tooltip, and I'll remove everything except for the sum of our progress. But now when we hover over it, it's in decimal form. So I'm going to right-click Format on our progress percent field and change this to a percentage with no decimals. And now with a quick glance, we can estimate the progress for each initiative. And when we hover over the circle, we can see the exact progress made.